I think I just figured something out because I was like, oh yeah, me and my twin sister step on me or whatever. And my father, Vladimir Putin, said, and my mother, Dr. Angel Sparks Sr., said, where'd you get that name? I said, I don't know, they keep saying the name a lot. I could have said Vic. Oh, my one twin sister Vic or whatever. Now I'm a triplet. Vic and Steph and me, right? Watch somebody make a me, right? Oh no, my name's me. I'm a triplet. Anyway, but I'm here on 4th Street when I was a wee one, when I was a lot younger. On 4th Street North, there was a Stephanie. And when my mother, Dr. Angel Sparks Sr., and I went to go and pick up fast food with my father, Vladimir Putin, and my first ever husband, Princess Anna Elizabeth Alice Louise. They were in the back seat. And my mother at the drive-thru, she says, everybody says that we're twins, that I have a twin. And I thought, oh, well, you're a Negroid. No, and this was before I was doing my tanning. I'm of ruddy complexion, meaning pale skin. All I have to do, it's all fun and games. You want to Baker Act me? Fine. You want to arrest me? Fine. Why don't you hold me somewhere for 8 to 10 months without taking Melanotan 2 injections? You'll find out real fast. I'm a white woman, and it's not like anybody doesn't know that I'm 100% white. It's not that I don't look 100% white. It's something for somebody to use to have fun, right? Oh, you can't be white, or you're not the old white lady. You don't know who your daddy is because of the talk shows I've been on, the TV talk shows I've been on. Well, I was still I wasn't doing any tanning, and she says, you're my twin sister. Everybody says we look a lot alike. That everybody has a twin, and I'm thinking, oh, well, that's nice. And I'm thinking in my head, what a what jump. But anyway, I mean, oh, well, that's nice or whatever. And then she said, oh, the white lady, which isn't a white lady, it's a Mexican. She said, did you see the one lady that just came to the window before me? That's my mom, Sally. Now, mind you, that's the same girl. And I said, so that must be what I'm going through here with Burger King, because those two people worked for a Burger King on 4th Street when I was a wee one with long blonde hair and obviously white skin. I'm a 100% white female. So anyway, it's just weird. But so that Stephanie, listen, and I know its whole name, Stephanie Kristina Leech, and then she got married, and her name is Stephanie Kristina Leech Peterson. It's Peterson, I'm pretty sure. And or Stephanie Christine Peterson, Stephanie Peterson, whatever. And I know all about it, but you know how? It told me. One time I was in the hospital and it came up to me and it said, how are you? I said, I'm fine. Right after some Negroid man came up to me and said, God, you're gorgeous. I said, thank you. He said, look at these. And he showed me some baby pictures of him. He said, do you have a baby picture of you where we could swap? I'll give you one of my baby pictures and you give me one of yours. I'm thinking, you're like some 80-year-old Negroid guy. At the time, I was like 25, 35, I might have been 30 years of age. I'm a white woman in a hospital, and you're asking to swap baby. And of course me, because I've got one in my wallet right now, but I mean, on a regular basis, what 30-year-old woman is running around with baby pictures on them? But he says, do you happen to have a baby picture so that we could swap? And I'm like, no. He said, oh, well, you may have this. And I said, oh, well, thank you, but that's okay. He says, no, you keep it. And I threw it away. Well, I mean, not even 3 hours later, this lady came, and it's that Stephanie one from the Burger King. And she says, look. And I said, oh, that's lovely. Your family, yeah, these are my family. And she points to a lady from behind that had a long blonde ponytail. She looked like she would have been a white person from behind. And she points at the lady and she goes, that's you. And she keeps scrolling. And I thought, right? And I said, oh. I said, that wasn't me. And she says, no. And she scrolls back. She says, the only white one in the picture. That's you. And I said, oh, because I'm a white person. And she keeps scrolling. And she said, see, and she told me about her husband, Zachary, and her stepson, whatever his name is, and she's got a brother named Shane. And I said, oh, a Shayna Bane, a Buddha Bane. I said, we have a Shane, and I call him Shayna Bane, a Buddha Bane. And she said, yeah, I don't like him, though, because he looks more white than I do, which kind of makes sense. I was told by my one advisor that whoever it is, it's like a person that doesn't like white people. I don't know. But she was talking about herself, and a lot. And so I thought that was odd. And then the next thing you know, I wasn't stranded, I was overreacting, but I was with my mother, Dr. Angel Spark Sr., having like a not a temper tantrum, but having a tantrum, you know. Oh my gosh, I'm not waiting for Anton Finnegan up. We're not doing this. My father, Vladimir Putin, KGB, my butt. We're on the side of the road. I'm ringing someone. I'm not driving. And blah, 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 blah. So I called my mother, Dr. Angel Spark Sr., called an Uber. I said, you know, I want to see numbers on the side of the vehicle. 777 something. 7777, you know, 727, whatever it is. You know, I'm not familiar with the country. But I'm like, for the love of God, you called an Uber. That could be anybody, right? And you're getting into somebody's personal vehicle. That's disgusting. I don't know, you know, these people. And I'm not going to end up on the back of a milk cart. And lo and behold, that same, no offense, but these are, you know, that same fat Negro lady named Stephanie shows up. And she's like, oh, so how's your mother? I said, oh, we're picking her up right now. She goes, oh, because, and I'm thinking, well, how do you know my mother? But I guess, you know, I also do a share of talking. I talk way too much off script of questions and answers on the talk shows, of TV talk shows. So here I am. Apparently, I had said enough information to this person. So I know this person. She says, I've got big boobs like your mother does. And I said, well, it looks like we could be about the same size. You just have breasts and I'm pregnant. I said, you don't look fat. You know, I said, you just look like you've got, I said, you can tell it's big boobs. And she said, well, you can tell you're pregnant. And I said, well, that's nice. You know what I mean? But she, you know, and I thought, I'm in some Negroid's car, I don't know. But she had already, she said, how is your mother? Oh, we're going to pick my mother, Dr. Angel Spark Sr. up right now and drive back to my one house on my own. I'm in and out of all of God, I just realized just now, and that means that lady knows where I live. And I said, you know what? I told the police, no, that's not my name. My name is Stephanie Kristina Leech. And she said, no, you didn't. I said, yes, I did. I said, wait until you get some paperwork at your house for a court date you're going to have to show up to. She said, what? And I said, I'm just joking. I said, why are you telling people your life story? Why are you showing pictures of your family and your kids to somebody you don't know in a hospital? I said, that was kind of creepy. But it's creepy on your end, too. I mean, you don't know who I am. I could be a whack job. And you just told me all about your family. She says, oh, I know you, girl. And I thought, and it seemed kind of odd, even though she's a Negroid, with her saying, I know you, girl. It almost sounded like she wouldn't say that. And she's a Negroid, a real live Negroid. But her mother did look, you know, like a lighter, one of the Mexicans. Her mother's Mexican. So she's 50% Mexican, 50% Negroid, whatever. But she said, yeah, I saw the one, not an episode. She said, I saw you on Facebook. Prince William had posted something about you guys going to the prison on Facebook. Me and my mother used to go to the prison with my one best friend. And I'm like, well, I don't need to know this stuff. You know, it was just weird. But anyway, long story short, I'm wondering if that's what's going on with this Burger King here and all these freaking fat Negroids. I don't mean to be rude. However, you know, I'm 6 foot tall, 165 pounds, thin built, underweight as usual. You know, I'm supposed to, at this point in time, no, I'm not a biker. However, I do wear a lot of leather. No, I'm not a bodybuilder. However, I do a lot of extreme tanning. I was on a talk show once. I was on Sally Jesse Raphael on one of his or her last talk shows of 2002 entitled Geek to Chic for being a Milana Tan 2 injector extreme tanner learned how to get rather dark and maintain it quite successfully courtesy of England. Okay, look, I don't care about all of that shit. Yeah, I wanted to be a bodybuilder since I was little. I was told I wasn't allowed to. I'm a medical baby. I was born a medical baby. I was born 1 month late, weighing the size of a preemie. I weighed 3 pounds 8 ounces. I almost died. They had to put me in an incubator. And then, like, when my mother was getting me weighed and measured, the doctor said, when I was, a wee one, like 6 months old or something, my mother, Dr. Angel Sparks Sr., who was getting me weighed and measured, and they said, well, she's going to be about 6'3". My mother said, there's no way she's going to be 6'3". And here I am, 6 foot. I'm 6 foot tall. But why is it I'm a tall, thin? I mean, check me out. Google me. Pull up. Well, not police records, but the one time when I almost got arrested for calling. At that time, he was Prince Charles III of England, coming UK, Great Britain. I called him a dip-de-doo. I said, well, he's a little freaking pissant. But I was sitting in the back of a cop car with handcuffs on. It wasn't a joke. And pulled me up. 6 foot tall, 165 pound, thin build, brown-eyed, blonde-haired, white female. Why are all of these relatively short, I might add, fat negroids injecting themselves into my life? My God. I mean, what in the hell's going on? Excuse my language. Now I can't mark that this is made for children. But I mean, for the love of God. And they talk about Mexicans. There was one Negroid. I posted a video the other day of one Negroid that said she was going to beat my ass. And then she called me she didn't call me a crackhead, she called me a crack something. And then she called me a Mexican. I said, what are you talking about? Now I'm a Mexican? I thought you said I was a Negroid. Whatever you are, you're not white. Oh, but I am. And I said, on the bus earlier today, there were two talking. And I said, yeah. I said, I am the one who did. That's the girl who doesn't know who her daddy is. I said, I see that the talk show, of TV talk show has aired again. However, you're either being mean or I'll give it to you. I'll give you enough to get out of this. You're either being mean or you didn't see the end of the episode, because I'll be damned, I do know who my daddy is. And the daughter full biological of now DNA tested Vladimir Putin and Dr. Angel Sparks Sr.